Hello and welcome to Vikings Territory Breakdown. I'm Joe Oberly, senior writer for VikingsTerritory.com and PurplePTSD.com. And that there is Mark Craig. Had to do expleted, deleted there. He's from the Star Tribune. He's the NFL writer and the NFL Insider Vikings writer for a long time. Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. Never a dull moment at TCO. Never a dull moment for a Vikings fan. They have stuff happening all the time. Never a dull moment for a Vikings beat writer, Mark. Oh my God, the cornerback position. Holy mackerel. What do you think? What do you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, since we did this podcast, I think they've signed an army of corners. We've had guys go out for the season. We've had guys go out for the week. We've had, so I guess to recap, Mekhi Blackmon was a guy that was working. He was basically their third corner. He was going to be the guy he was kind of in OTAs and mini camp and stuff. He kind of went into training camp as that guy that was going to be probably on the outside, and then when they went to three corners with Murphy shifting inside. Well, day one in training camp, a non-contact deal. They're not in pads, of course. He slips and falls down, and he goes down for a while, and didn't look good then. And then he's out for the year, a torn ACL. So since then, they've and then a couple days later.
Shaq Griffin
has an interception, and he's taken off for
really.
He has a goal for I want to score this. So as I was joking with him, I said, Did you tear your? They didn't tear his ham. Did you pull your hamstring whenever you were trying celebrating this touchdown or this interception? And he said, No, I was trying to score. So he tweaks his hamstring, and apparently it doesn't appear to be very serious. Talked to him 2 days ago. I don't know if the team has said it's a hamstring, but he said it was his hamstring.
Wow.
It's soft tissue now, Joe. If it's there's not, it's sort of like when the Twins want the lower leg extremities or whatever.
Yeah.
Or hockey does that, I guess. But he just said it was his hamstring, and he's been staying on the sideline.
I got soft tissue all over my body.
Yeah. So all the soft tissue hurts after a while. So I look for him to be back. This team obviously errs on the side of caution when it comes to these injuries. So that's not alarming. But since then they signed Jacoby Francis. I think Duke Shelley, the Duke, one of my favorite unknown players, signed right after we got done. I think with the podcast last week. So he's back. The safety corner Bobby McCain was signed, and then yesterday or the day before, Fabian Moreau was signed, and it's such a kind of a desperate situation that Fabian signs on the day that he signed. I officially signed. He got some reps with the first team. So
wow,
it's a sort of a it's a snapshot at what they're going through at cornerback. Yeah. It's also kind of a spotlight on a guy named Andrew Booth and a Caleb Evans to some degrees. They're there, and Booth. The biggest knock on him was he couldn't stay healthy. Well, he's been healthy. He's been in pads or in uniform every day. And granted, even if he was doing well, they still need bodies because you typically find it seems for whatever reason teams will get hit at certain positions. And the Vikings certainly have been hit at corner for all kinds of reasons. And that's also a position when you're talking about injuries. That's where early in camp, corners are probably more susceptible to hamstrings, and because all of a sudden they're going pretty much full speed and changing directions and going back, and they don't know where they're going. The receiver knows where they're going, so that's what we're seeing. And you just got to keep shuffle them in.
Mark, what do you see from these guys? I mean, are they just camp bodies? Are they depth? Are they like you said, Morrow did some work with the ones. What do you see for this group? I mean, if does Duke Shelley have anything left? I don't even. Bob McCain is 30. That's like the Mendoza line for cornerbacks. What does he bring to the table? What what do you see or know about any of these guys that I'm not saying to predict it, but are these just names that are going to, I don't know what's going to happen. My God.
Well, I mean, it's not all of them are camp bodies. I mean, Mekhi Blackmon's gone. He's gone for the year, and he was a guy that they were counting on. So now you're looking, frankly, Duke Shelley, to me, he's one of their best corners. I look at him in practice. He's 5'8", he's 180 pounds, but he's feisty. And we saw 2 years ago when he was on this team. He's brought in his third play as a Viking in that Buffalo game. He climbs over the tight end that's a foot taller than him, and makes a great play at the end of that game. Helps win that game in his third snap as a Viking. That's a play that Andrew Booth hasn't made in several more opportunities, or he hasn't been healthy enough to try and make that play. So I like this guy's feistiness. He left in free agency, went to the Rams, played 11 games last year, didn't start any, becomes available, he's back. I'm not saying he's going to be Deion Sanders or he's going to be even Byron Murphy, but I like a guy that competes like he does. I don't see the same competitive level like in an Andrew Booth or you see it in Caleb Evans. I think Caleb Evans there's still something there that we could see him. He's not a let's not throw away a Caleb Evans just yet.
Right.
Jacoby Francis is a guy. He's 25. He's played 5 games, undrafted free agent in 2022. I think he played 5 games with the Texans. Bobby McCain is going to be 31 in August later this month. He's a guy that Flores has experience with in Miami. He's a veteran. He's played. He started every 87 games. So he's got experience. He's also another guy that can play safety and play corner. He comes in as a safety, but there's versatility. Jay Ward, safety, is seeing some time in the nickel. Cam Bynum comes out of college as a corner / safety, and he can play in that slot. So it's another example of a versatile guy that can play different spots, and he's got experience with Flores. And then Fabian Moreau he's 30. He started 11 games for the Broncos last year. The Broncos, except when they weren't giving up 70 points to the Dolphins early on, they came on and played pretty well defensively toward the end of the year. So yeah, it's just a constant. There's guys out there. There's guys moving around, and this is a position that there's some desperation here. They got to get it right, or they got no chance.
Do they just not have enough money and cap space for a guy like Stephon Gilmore, or is that his name? The guy that's out there
I mean, Gilmore's out there, Xavier Howard's out there, J.C. Jackson, Adoree Jackson. I mean, I don't think they want to spend the money on it. Clearly, don't want to spend the money on something like that. But you just got done mentioning 30. These guys, Stephon Gilmore, these guys are over 30. They're names that we all know. But are they worth the $10 million a year? The Vikings certainly don't think so. Clearly,
I saw some stuff online that I just would like you to respond to. I mean, I heard rumors about Cam Bynum, who used to play cornerback. Like that people were saying, oh, he should be playing there. That's a bunch of, like, our president likes to say, malarkey, isn't it? That he would.
When they say that, when you say that, like I just got done saying that Cam Bynum has that versatility,
right?
It's to play. It's not a shutdown corner on the outside. It's coming up and playing on the in the slot against the receiver, and you're probably playing some zone, there. But he does have more, like him. Jay Ward is a safety that can do that. Bobby McCain that they just signed is a guy that probably you can see some of that. Josh Metellus did that. I think Josh Metellus, if you look at Pro Football Focus, played 12 different positions or something last year, just moving around. I'm not sure where they got all that, but
he's the Cesar Tovar of the Vikings.
You see some of that, and back in the day, whenever when Zim went down to New Orleans and won that playoff game, remember he had Zendejo playing. It was his nickel corner in that game. So, these guys, it's, corner in the true sense where you're out there on an island covering a guy one-on-one. No, but if you're playing the slot and you're, like Zendejo's case, he was hanging on for dear life.
My thought is, I agree with you. There is desperation clearly because they're just, they're picking up everybody they can. I've done that in fantasy football, to see which guy is gonna is gonna move ahead and can plug in there. There is desperation, but unfortunately, what I see there, they're only going to they got bodies, but they're only going to rise to a certain level. Their cornerback position is just going to be down this year. I don't think.
And it started with the tragic, death of Khyree Jackson. Khyree Jackson was a guy that they had a limited number of draft picks, and then they had fewer. They trade up to get Dallas Turner. So I think the next pick was Khyree Jackson. I mean, he's a guy that they really were leaning on.
Yeah.
And obviously he's gone tragically. Then you lose another one on day one of camp, and then you lose, your veteran free agent that you went out, and you're basically he's the 1 year prove it guy coming off of injuries, and he gets hurt.
He is going to be back, and they will going to be able to count on him, but they're going to have to treat him like they treated Justin Jefferson last year. That put bubble wrap around this guy.
Well, yeah, I mean it certainly whenever you see a guy that they say is close to coming back and he's standing on the sideline, he's not off at some clinic in Colorado looking at some some sort of repair surgery or something. That's a good sign. So it does appear that he'll be back, but he misses a week at camp. He's got the hamstring that they got to be careful with. He can easily pop that thing again. So, yeah, it's a red flag. But at this point, you can say, yeah, okay, you still have him. But, man, you better be ready because like I said, it just seems like when it hits in a position, it just keeps going.
He's not going to see it down this training camp. I can see that.
That's not a good thing either because he's not at a point in his career where he's established and you just put bubble wrap on it. You got to see it. Does he still have something left? Because
that's true.
He's not 4 years ago when he was in Seattle and he was a Pro Bowl player. That's been a long time ago, and it's been a lot of teams ago. So they got to see what they have in him.
They also signed linebacker Jabril Cox. Who is he? What is he? Is he for depth? The camp body? What's the signing there?
I had done it. I wasn't even aware of or I had remembered that they'd signed Jabril Cox. He came in the same time that they got Jacoby Francis.
Yeah,
North Dakota State kid. Went to LSU too. Fourth round of the Cowboys in 21. I think he's played 26 games, no starts. That's just recycling the bottom of your roster because the corresponding move for that was getting rid of an undrafted free agent, KJ Cloyd. You miss KJ, right?
I do.
So that's just there were years, and especially at the beginning of Belichick's tenure in Cleveland, it was like a train station. I mean, every day it was like, here they come, like a new wave of people coming off and being signed and being tested out and being worked out and then back on the train and off they go. And so, yeah, you're seeing some of that because you do see a lot. I mean, this defense, it's been a few years since I've watched practice, and every single time something happens, you have to look down and be reminded of, who is who on these numbers.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Well, that's a look at that position. We're gonna come back, take a break, and come back and talk about another position that everybody's talking about. And since everybody's talking about it, I'm not even gonna tell you what it is. I'm sure you already know. But we'll take a quick break. Come on back to Vikings Territory Breakdown. Okay, welcome back to Vikings Territory Breakdown with Mark Craig from the Star Tribune. Mark, you had a little kerfuffle, a little dust up last night on Twitter X. Someone, I think you were talking about what we're about to talk about is the quarterback position for the Vikings. And someone didn't appreciate your take. First, tell us your take, and then maybe how we responded.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't go on Twitter, or X, or whatever much. It doesn't seem as much back and forth anymore. I don't know if people, there must be a new because there must be if I've been on Twitter for 15 years, I think now, people have moved on to whatever's next, I'm sure. But there was I think I was just doing some camp observations, and went out on a real and Matthew Collar called me on. It was kind of funny when I went out on this big limb and said that Darisaw and Jefferson look good to me. And my point with Darisaw was he looks like, if I had to pick who's the best player in camp right now, it's Darisaw, because Darisaw looks like if you were playing with a toddler and you put your hand on his head and move around like he's trying to rush you. He's just been exceptional. But then it morphed into, I said it here on this podcast last week. I just went in and said, I think McCarthy is going to be the starter week 1. And so then it got picked up by one of these fan websites, not Vikings territory. So something else that they made like a big production of me saying that he was going to be the starter in week 1.
Which you've been saying on this show for all.
I've been doing this like 35 years or whatever. There have been a few times where I've been wrong, I think. So I didn't get the big deal. But someone, they just said, I said my favorite tweet of the year was just F Mark Craig. So very succinct. It doesn't come any clearer. You know exactly where he stands. So then, that's my feeling is, I don't know, just sort of like when Joe Biden came out and said, I am not leaving. And my first instinct was, well, you're going to leave. How long is it going to take? How long is it going to take before the snowball rolls and then they finally shove you out the door?
Right.
So it's based on just like, what you've seen before, a feeling about McCarthy, 6 years of evidence to look at with Sam Darnold. That's what I'm basing it on.
You've been saying it. You said it all spring. I mean, I've been saying no. They're gonna, I'm saying this is a gap year or a throwaway year, kind of, for lack of a better term. That they got so many issues on defense now. They have they don't have any cap space next year. They're going to have the cap room, so they're preparing themselves to see who they got to load up next year and spend some money. So this one,
for a quarterback, they'll have no experience.
Well, I'm not saying he doesn't play at all, but I just didn't think. I think you start with Sam Darnold, and if all of a sudden the guy lights the world on fire, then you keep rolling with him. But if he doesn't, then you start working in JJ. But you said you think he'll start from day one. All the stuff we've seen online, and people posting pictures, even though the Vikings don't want him to, or plays, JJ's done really well, and Darnold they've been down on Darnold. Is that your assessment so far of what you've seen out there? Is JJ looking really good and like the starter?
Well, first of all, I don't base it on any predetermined, before anything happens, say, well, it's going to be a throwaway year or.
What fun are you then?
What? Well, but what I'm saying is I don't think you could, at least I'm not basing it on like a predetermined, this is, I'm not looking at what's going to happen. I'm looking at what I think is going to happen. I think that there is practices. There is a, joint practice with the Browns. There are going to be 3 preseason games. I think this guy is going to have one of those preseason games where heads are going to turn, including the Vikings. And it's going to be like, he's ready for it. If he's ready for it and he's ready to go, all the stuff you said to me doesn't matter because he's ready to do it. If he's not ready to handle the, setting his protection and you don't think he's ready to protect himself, if you don't think the offensive line is ready to protect him, then you make decisions like that. But I feel like he's gonna move ahead of Sam Darnold, and it's gonna be one of those where he's the better quarterback, and it's gonna be, we're gonna start Sam Darnold. It's not gonna make sense inside the locker room because these guys, Harrison Smith, every other player in that, Justin Jefferson, they're not playing for next year. I mean, you don't want to take a year off of Justin Jefferson's career and say, well, next year is when we have cap money, and next year is when we can do. You've got to focus on this year. So I just think he'll move ahead of him. As far as how they're looking now, McCarthy it's going to change here soon because they keep saying that they're going to, they have a plan of when McCarthy's going to start taking some first team reps. And when he does that, there's going to be, there can be this big gasp. It's coming. I mean, it's whether it comes tomorrow or over the weekend or whenever, it's coming. And right now, he's just been going with the second unit. They're getting about the same number of reps. It's just that McCarthy has been strictly second team play, the second team versus probably most of the time the first defense. And yeah, he's looked good. He hasn't looked like, John Elway or CJ Stroud from last year, but he's looked good. He's got an amazing arm. He's got, a few times he takes off running. He just has a good presence about him, and he has a lot of talent. In saying that, Sam Darnold has a great arm too. Yeah. Sam Darnold has probably had more, and he's playing. He's with the ones. And a lot of times he's playing the number 2 defense. He hasn't looked as sharp, but not to the point where I'm seeing now where people are saying, "Oh, JJ's light years ahead of him." I don't see that, but I do see JJ emerging as a guy that I feel will be ready for week 1.
It's interesting. I guess I'm gonna be pegged as the negative Nelly here, already doing so, and I'm gonna start getting F. Joe Oberle pretty soon on Twitter if I keep it up. But when I see McCarthy doing this, I always try to take it with a grain of salt. The guy is working with the second team, so who's he going against? This cornerbacks on this team are already now. We just spent a segment talking. That's the people he's playing against. When he plays against, when JJ's got to step up, if he gets to start on day one and play against a really top line secondary, he might not look so as world beater and maybe he's looking out at TCO right now.
Well, but the number 2 offense has gone against the number 1 defense quite a bit. In fact, one of his standout plays, he threw a touchdown to one of the Jacksons, Lucky or Tristan. Was over the defense. And again, this is you don't want to read a whole lot into one play at camp, but it was the first snap of team drills 2 days ago, I think. And, strike right down the middle over top of the starting safety. And on the flip side of all this, if he's not ready, it's not alarming because you went out and you gave Sam Darnold $10 million when which is a lot for the backups compared to what like the Joe Flacco's and some of these other guys were getting, half of that. So it's a good situation. If the guy's ready, start him. JJ McCarthy is if he earns a starting job, and I think he goes to the Meadowlands and throws 3 interceptions against the Giants, I don't think you're going to lose him for the year, or he's going to be in the fetal position in the locker room saying, "I don't want my mommy." I think he'll be ready. The question is the team, with the team has to look at, okay, he won the job. We feel he's ready. If he goes to New York and lays an egg, you have to be committed to come back and I don't know who week 2 is. Come back and say he's our starter in week 2, and you got to be able to deal with the media going at it, the locker room maybe starting to chatter, or the media talking to the locker room about him. You got to make that decision with the intention of, hey, he's in there for I don't know, say a month, If it gets to where he throws like 4 interceptions, and 3 interceptions, then you got to go, well, we made a mistake. We got to make a change, but it can't be week to week.
Well, speaking of interceptions, I was on that bastion of valid takes Twitter, and I saw where someone had compiled the interceptions so far of who's the number 1, Caleb Williams and Bo Nix and all these guys that are drafted ahead of JJ McCarthy, and they all got 3 interceptions, and JJ's only got 1. So, I mean, oh my God, steal of the draft right there, huh?
In camp, they have they've compiled all the camp interception.
Yeah.
Oh. Dedication. That's dedication to your craft, right?
It is. I don't know who compiled it, but I did smile when I saw that. okay, so they got a decision to make on this QB, and I know you don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm just curious if your experience at going to camp and probably anticipating decisions of this caliber at some point. When do you think we find out what, I mean, and it's probably all bets are off because now we have 17 games and 3 preseason games, and who knows what they're going to do with those. And they got the practices. When do you think, what's the signal that we can look for that you're going to be right that he's going to start or he's not going to start on opening?
Well, I mean, they're going to try and hide this all the way up until kickoff against the Giants on September, whatever it is.
Okay.
I mean, this will be something unless one of them, unless like JJ completely flames out in the preseason, then it'll be like, okay, Darnold's the guy. We'll bring JJ along. But if they're neck and neck, they will be coy and they will be toying with us, and they will be making sure that no eyes see any team periods in those 10 minutes that we're allowed to see. When the regular season starts, when training camp is over, then it becomes, they go back into their bubble and you only see stretching and stuff, enough to kind of see who's in uniform. And then they usher the media out. They'll make sure that we don't see any kind of like lining up for it. There won't be any mistakes where, a few years ago, I think Zim made a mistake of Bradford taking snaps, and they started as people were walking out, and someone looked over their shoulder and saw it, and then Zim went crazy. I didn't make it that day, but he called everybody in and just yelled and screamed and went Zim on everyone, and so I wasn't there.
He yelled at the media.
Well, yeah, for reporting something, and so yeah, I wasn't there for that day. I knew what was coming, and I said I don't.
Well, that just means that we get to then speculate for another how many weeks about this.
Well, yeah, sure, it's part of the fun. Yeah, that's my guess. Is that it'll be kind of a close. You're not really going to know. They're not going to come out on Monday before the Giants and go out. Giants, we're starting. Blah blah blah. They'll make the Giants work for it a little. I think. Everything I say, Joe, could be wrong. Who better than you knows that, right?
Absolutely, especially when you're talking about my golf game. Okay, well let's put that to bed for this week, and I'm sure we'll bring it up next week and talk about what Mark has seen and how many receptions JJ has versus Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, and Drake May, and whoever else.
I want to know.
Yes. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back up and we'll finish up with a few things and on Vikings territory breakdown. All right, folks, welcome back to Vikings territory breakdown with Mark Craig from the Star Tribune. Mark, we have a kicker. Will Richard is the Vikings kicker because John Parker Romo was Johnny. We hardly knew ye was let go, and so that they could pick up. I think maybe Fabian Moreau. I'm not sure who they grabbed for him, but he's gone. So did you see? I think you wrote about it, and I think that's you're the death knell of this. As soon as you write about it, somebody gets whacked. Is that how it goes?
Well, what happened is they kept having injuries at corner, and there was not. I mean, the competition ended before it started. I mean, I know that they kicked against each other in the spring and everything, but I would say that Will better not think, okay, I've won the job, because there's a lot of guys out that are a lot of veterans that are out there kicking with no teams that can be easily trotted in and worked out and signed. But this is the guy that they spent the 6th round draft pick on. It's funny because the first time that it was 2 days after he got cut was when O'Connell was actually able to talk about it, and he said, "Yeah, it's hard to keep 2 specialists whenever you have injuries at other positions." He goes, "But Will is ready for it. He's ready for it." And a couple hours later, Will goes out onto the field, and they get to it's the first time, might have been the second time that it was the first time after John Parker Romo had been released, that they had a end of the day type. We're going to drive, and then we bring the kicking team on, and they kick it. Yep. His first kick, 54 yards, wide right. Next series, 54 yards, wide right. And then the last one was 55 yards, and it was right down the middle. So he's undefeated from 55 and out, but 54 he's 0 for 2. And again, that's, just a small sign of, like the guy's first day, but it is 54 yards. So I think
Yeah.
that they do that when there's a pressure, like even a pressure like that, of being the only kicker in camp. Maybe it's better to have him kick a long one because you got how it's 54. Like if it's 27 yards and it's left hash, like Blair Walsh, that then it might be a little more alarming. But but when it comes to even that punter kicker, there's always guys out there that teams can go get if they need them.
It's the scar tissue of the kicking for the Vikings. It's like this looming cloud over the field.
And one of the more amazing things of the Kevin O'Connell era is he has coached 34, 35 games, including the playoffs. He's made it 2 full years, and he's never had a Vikings coaching moment of when the kicker is brought out and he blows it at the end. So, I think he's probably due. So, what happens to him whenever that does happen? Say it happens in, say, week 2. Does he go zim and he cut the guy, or do you like wrap your arms around him like he likes to say? And
it's not going to happen to him because he's going to do like he's done the past 2 years and go for it on 4th down. He's just not going to let the chance happen.
If you think about it, his rookie year as a coach, he's 11-0 in 1-score games, and so the kicker never let him down in any of those. And when the kicker, and that year, even Greg Joseph was a special teams player of the week twice. He had that 61-yarder to beat the Giants. He had 5 for 5 against the Saints with a winner at the end. But he still missed a lot of kicks. I mean, he missed more kicks than anybody in the league that year. But they were never one of those that really, sunk the team at the end.
Right. Lewis Cine has injured leg. I don't know what it is, and he's missed some practice. Could he be missing more in his future here, the way this is going, if he doesn't get on the field quick?
Yeah, I mean, I've said that why keep Lewis Cine, this long and not keep him for next year whenever we assume Harrison Smith won't be there. But there just does not appear to. I mean, I don't know. I think he makes the team this year because I don't think you just you carry him this long and then just get rid of him. But in saying that, there just does not appear to be much interest in having, Theo Jackson moved ahead of him. Now this Bobby McCain comes in as a safety who can do multiple things. I just don't think that they think much of him. Flores, I don't think thinks anything of him. And if it's that case, maybe it is time to pull the plug on him and send him somewhere else.
Robert Tonyan, tight end, formerly with the Bears, Packers, was taken off on a cart. You said you told me offline. What do you know there? What's going on?
Well, apparently he had back spasms, and then Josh Oliver he was in uniform, but he wasn't playing much yesterday. I said that I think Johnny Mundt had a camp record 302 catches yesterday. Because every time you looked up, Johnny Mundt was catching the ball, like first team, second team, third team, whatever. He might have been the only guy that available that was at that position yesterday. So, but Tonyan, spasms.
Been there.
It's maybe not serious. They can take care of and get him back on the field. But
I know a chiropractor for those back spasms.
Yeah, so I'm sure they got an army of people just like you do. If the Minnesota Health can put Joe Oberle back together, they can put Robert Tonyan back together.
That's right. Maybe because he's catching so many passes, he was tired out. He got a little mad yesterday when I think you said Brian Asamoah hit him out of bounds kind of hard.
Well, it wasn't out of bounds. It was, Johnny Mundt had caught a ball and he was heading toward the sideline, and Asamoah didn't pull up, and he hit him. He didn't hit him low. He didn't hit him high. He just, really, really hard collision, shoulder pad to shoulder pad. And Johnny Mundt didn't like it and turned around, threw the ball at him, and then started to charge him, and then backed off, and some players came in between them. Asamoah didn't see any of it because Asamoah had his back turned. I don't think he saw the ball being thrown at him. He was laughing. I said that's kind of the modern NFL was the only time you really heard a pad pop, and it was like some guy got upset about it. So
yeah,
I think Johnny was needed to not. I mean, because it wasn't out of bounds. It was just it was
right. I think Asamoah wants to get some start playing time, so he's going to be hitting.
It would be good to see him wake up and because that rookie year he was so promising, and it just seemed like once Ivan Pace moved ahead of him, his attitude just sunk. And it'd be nice to see him because he'll be a better he'll be a more valuable special teams player this year because the kickoff changes. And he's got some talent. It's just he's not very big, but he's got some speed and some talent. It just seems like he needs to want to do it again.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this week. We're got Mark being out at camp and have plenty of stuff for us going forward. So we'll work on that. I just want to thank everybody for coming here. We always appreciate you stopping in. Mark, thank you for giving us your knowledge and insight there. Mike Oldham, producing, thank you as well. And close circuit to Joe Johnson, who created this website and this podcast. There's another Skull sister that's joining you in Valhalla here today. My mom passed away, and I just wanted to say, give her a big hug and show her where the good seats are to watch the Vikings. All right, for me. And until we all talk again, for her, love you, Mom. Rest in peace. And to y'all out there, Skull.
Goal.